Welcome to Movie Nerds Podcast, the Everyman Nerds Podcast. I'm Tommy Bolden. Howdy, new hat. And joining me as always is my good friend and partner, Taylor Salen. How you doing tonight, Taylor?
Hello, I'm great. How you doing today, man?
Doing exceptionally well. So tonight, what we're going to be covering is basically a rapid fire of terrible movies, and we're going to give you pretty much a short stint of how we, of what we think about it. And of course, there's going to be tangents and rabbit trails. That's what makes us us. And we're going to get right down to it. And I'm going to go ahead and let Taylor take it away.
All right, so I just kind of have a little list of movies that I thought it would be interesting to talk about because they're not necessarily good per se. So let's start with The Unborn. What do you think about The Unborn, Tommy?
Okay. Well, The Unborn, I don't really know because it was kind of weird. Gary Oldman was in it. Like you said earlier, you hadn't seen it.
Nope.
The direction really wasn't too bad, and the cinematography wasn't really too bad. But the story was moderate at best. It was jump scares. It was really all it was. It just felt like a teen movie. Um, it's worth probably a watch if you don't have anything else to do and you're just curious to see how it is. But the only real redeeming part of it, like I said, is Gary Oldman. So,
Okay. Yeah.
so
See,
that's
the
pretty
funny
much
thing
that
is
on
though
that.
is too that I didn't even know Gary was Oldman was in it. But mentioned that, so that kind of piqued my curiosity a little bit. The Unborn is actually one of those movies that I own that I picked up, I think, for like 50 cents or something that I never really ended up watching. So I'll probably end up watching that and reporting back. I'll probably end up agreeing with you though. But moving on. Have you ever seen Whiteout? What about Whiteout? That's a
Is
fun.
that have the girl from Underworld in it, didn't it?
Yes, Kinsale. And
Kate
it's the one where
Beckinsale,
she's a police officer
police
on
officer in like
Antarctica.
Antarctica. Have you seen it?
Yes, I have. I watched it when it first came out, when it first hit DVD, and I thought it was an utter piece of garbage. Really
It was
intense.
pretty bad.
It actually reminded me a lot of what John Carpenter's The Thing was trying to do, but it did it a lot worse than John Carpenter's The Thing because it's set in this remote location. It's windy. It's very
Yeah,
snowy. There's a sense of isolation. Um, but I have to agree, it's a pretty bad movie. I would not recommend
yeah.
that one.
I I waited I waited for DVD. I knew it had counters, and I was actually on this kick for a while where I was like, "Oh, Kate Beckinsale's in it. Maybe I'll watch it." And then I just started to. Then I kind of read some reviews, and it said it was bad. And you know, I don't really take. I don't, like we said before, I don't really take the big critics' word so much for movies as I do really just the everyman. And the guy who runs the local newspaper here, who started doing more of the movie reviews, he said it was just really bad. And I tend to actually agree with him a lot. So I skipped it and I waited on it forever to come out the DVD. And
Mhm.
I actually just watched it. It's been like 6 or 7 months ago, but I watched it, and there was no redeeming, there was nothing redeeming about it. It was, I don't know. I felt like it felt like it was trying to be a horror movie, but then it just turned into this mystery thriller kind of detective movie that I didn't really care for.
Yeah.
So I'd say, I mean, if you haven't seen it, don't worry, you're not missing anything. Unless you just want to see Kate Beckinsale, and then she's not in the underworld costume, so there wasn't anything there. And I'm getting married, so I need to shut up. But
Okay, so
continue
moving
on,
on.
sir.
Have you ever seen Freddy Got Fingered? That movie, that one
Oh God,
is bad. But I will
that
say,
is a
I still think there's funny moments in that movie, like moments that just make me laugh, for no
yeah,
particular reason. Um,
yeah,
the one point in particular where he's playing the piano and singing the sausage song or whatever it is, that just always made me
yeah.
laugh. But other than that, wow, it's crazy. It's Tom Green like to the max.
Yeah, growing up, Tom Green was a thing that was on, the Tom Green show. He was on
Mm-hmm.
MTV, and he was always on there doing really silly, of course, silly, crazy stuff. And um, I thought he was funny, like, he's funny, like, in small doses. It's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
the Tom Green show's on. Okay, he's on for 30 minutes. Aha, he's funny. And then they were like, well, Tom Green's getting his own movie. And I was like, I don't know about this. And it took me a while to see it because I was young when it came out in theaters and I couldn't get any, and I didn't want to go see it. And I wasn't going to waste any money to go to the theater and watch it. But, I waited for it to come out come out on DVD, and when it did and I watched it, I was kind of like you. I found parts of it that were really funny, and then other parts I was just like, I just
Yeah.
couldn't. The moment I thought was actually the funniest was towards the end where he told where he was like, his dad's played by Rip Torn of all people.
Yeah.
And he says like F you dad or something, and like he pulls his pants down and like he's dancing and his mom walks in. That makes me laugh. It still does, but it was just like, it was like an hour and a half of the Tom Green show that I didn't need, so.
Yeah, I agree with that one. Okay, so have you ever seen Lost in Space?
Oh
Yeah.
man. Oh my god. Okay. Story. Here we
All right,
go.
go
Here's a
ahead.
story. That movie came out when I was like 10 years old, and I remember, thinking hearing that it was going to be this big sci-fi blockbuster, it's supposed to be the next classic in sci-fi movies and everything. And it was raining, so we decided to go see a movie, and that was the movie we decided to go see. And I never really suffered in theaters as bad as I did for that one. It was pretty punishing. Like it, no, no, no redeeming qualities at all. Like, I mean, for that particular year, the technology and the special effects look really good, but the story, the directing, cinematography, the acting, and everything else is like, uh, uh.
Well,
And
the question I
wasn't
have for
Gary
you is how
Oldman?
long. Hold on. The question I have for you is how long has it been since you've seen it though? Because that's what I really want to know.
um, well, it's been it was on television about, I think it was on television last year on the
Mm-hmm.
Sci-Fi Channel, of course, and I decided to watch it. Like, I was just like, well, maybe I was just a kid, and maybe I just didn't care for it because it wasn't as, I didn't fall into the hype like everybody else did. But I watched it again. It's probably been about a year, and I watched it on a day where I was just had nothing else to do, and I was still disappointed. Like I said, I remember like the special effects were really good, but everything else to me was
Not
sour.
even,
It
not
was
even the special effects are good, man. That's why I was asking because I rewatched it maybe 6 months
yeah.
ago just out of curiosity because it
Yeah.
was one of my favorite movies as a kid. And you're asking if Carrie Elwes was in it, right? I don't believe he is. It's Gary Oldman who's the.
No, that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna
Oh,
say,
okay.
isn't Gary Oldman
Yeah,
also in that one?
he's in that,
He was
and
the
and he's the only thing I loved in
oh
it because he's brilliant in it. He knows what
yeah
kind of movie he's in. The other actors are
yeah
a little way too serious, but not only that,
yeah.
the visual effects at the end are freaking atrocious, dude. When they go to the
Well
very end and the climax and all that stuff on the planet,
yeah.
and it's just, oh my god, I couldn't believe I actually liked that movie as a child. I could not believe it.
Well, I was looking at it as for its era, I was
Hmm.
looking at it for the special effects that we had for that time period. And, I said they held up, but by held up, I meant they held up by like 90s movie standards.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, But that one was just, oh
Yeah.
boy.
Okay,
I
so I think we've said enough about Lost in Space. That movie is just
yeah,
makes me madder and madder the more I think about it.
said more than enough about Lost in Space for a
Yeah.
lifetime.
So didn't you have a few movies on a list of your own, Tommy, that you wanted to speak about?
Whew. Oh yeah, let's get down.
To the
Let's get
fun
down
stuff.
in. Yeah, let's get to the down and dirty. And the first film I really want to talk about, because I think it didn't make any money, but the people who did go and watch it got sucker punched, and that's House of the Dead. And I think you said you have not seen that,
No, I
correct?
haven't.
Well, worry don't worry about it. Trust me. Like you will save yourself a sleepless night, believe you me. Oh my goodness. It was, I can't even begin to tell you how bad it is. Okay.
Uh,
Are you familiar with the video game, right?
yeah, I used to play House of the Dead 1 and House of the Dead 2
Yeah.
when I was,
So,
when I
I
go to
mean,
arcades and stuff, so.
yeah. Yeah, who didn't? You know, you go to the arcade, yeah.
Yep.
So here's the real question. House of the Dead basically was a first person light gun shooter. There really wasn't any plot. You were just somehow
Yeah.
stuck in the House of the Dead. So, alright, so it could have been turned into a basic horror movie. Essentially, somebody ends up in a house that just happens to be full of dead people, corpses and satanic demons and stuff like that. It could have just been a zombie film. Well, here's what the movie did. The movie basically took all the characters, threw them on an island that was having this huge party, and and then zombies somehow show up and ruin the party. And and here was the best part. Here was the best part, and by best part I mean the part where I died laughing, and like the manager had to tell me to be quiet in the movie theater. Was and you can look this up on the highlights because this actually is worth a look. There's a zombie and he's got an axe. All right, and he throws the axe. This chick jumps in the air and like in Matrix vision, shoots the guy, lands on her feet, and gets out of the way at the axe all at the same time. And like, that's it. I lost it after that. I could not contain my laughter anymore. And like, it's one of those, you ever had a movie that just has one song for it? You know?
Hmm.
It's like they didn't have like a whole group of bands or a whole different type
Yeah.
of music per se. This movie had one song and it was a rap song, a shitty rap song called House of the Dead, and it just kept playing constantly. When people were shooting and running and killing and all this, it kept, and
Sounds
I'm done.
brutal. That
Perfect.
sounds brutal.
It's rough. It's pretty rough. It's actually on Internet Movie Database's bottom 100. So
Wow, really?
yeah, it's on there. I don't know what place it was, but it was. Ugh. Next movie, and you hadn't seen this one either, and I'm not gonna say very much about it because because the title pretty much gives the whole thing away. Disaster movie, and
Yeah.
that's basically what it is. It's a big disaster. It's just
Yeah.
one thing after another, and that's all I'm gonna say about that one. And
Yeah, that movie. I don't know how they keep making enough money to make these spoof movies. I just don't understand, you know?
you know, it, it used to be, and here's a tangent. It used to be, back in the day that when you made a spoof movie, you took one particular movie and you really broke down the funny parts of it, like what, the plot holes and everything that really could be funny, and like you just made that your movie and it just poked fun at it, but it was
Yeah.
smart because you had good acting and you had good directing and you had good everything, like
Yeah.
Airplane. Airplane is a perfect
Exactly.
example.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I was gonna say.
If you
That's
haven't seen Airplane, like the comedy still holds up to this day. It's just it's a brilliant movie. It's really
yeah.
funny. And
Yeah, Airplane is like my number one comedy of all time, man. I seriously, every time I watch it, everything still just makes me bust out laughing. It's
yeah, it
crazy. I've
feels
never watched a movie where I can just watch it, or especially comedy, where I can watch it over and
yeah,
over again and still get as much enjoyment
and laugh
you know.
about it.
Yeah, it's
My,
just ah,
One of my favorite parts is the guy who they get to come to the airport, Rex Kramer,
yeah.
where he's walking through the airport and like he's beating up all the religious people, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, here's a flower from the monks of whatever, and he does this really cool thing where he punches the guy in the gut. And then he like does a spin kick over him into the next guy, and like I lost it. I thought that was just so funny. It still
uh,
is. But you had a couple good ones. You had like Airplane, and you had Spaceballs. Spaceballs was
mhm.
really good.
Yeah.
The first scary movie. And by the way,
Yes.
in case you didn't know, the reason we're doing this particular podcast is because Scary Movie 5 comes out this week. Boy, if you hadn't got enough of their dry comedy, it
Uh,
comes back
yeah.
in theaters,
Yeah,
and
this
you people will go see it.
yeah, I think we should talk maybe a little bit because I remember seeing news about this about a year and a half, 2 years ago, saying that Scary Movie 5 is coming, and instant face palm, and
Yeah,
then they set a release date for it, and I don't remember when it was. It was last year sometime, and
yeah,
come time of the release date, there's no trailer, no poster, no script,
no
I guess
anything.
supposedly.
Yeah,
So it's been kind of stuck in development hell. But in case you guys don't know, this movie stars the always professional Ashley Tisdale, the cinematic gem that is Ashley Tisdale, Charlie Sheen. I think Lindsay Lohan has a thing in this. So
I
this is
mean,
gonna just be a cinematic gem. It has just some of the best actors in the world, as you can tell. Um, but I have to agree with you on Scary Movie 1. Scary Movie 1 is really, really funny. And I think, like you said, you made a good point there about it sticking to one movie and one trope and dissecting that. And Scary Movie
yeah,
1 does a real good job of doing that for Scream.
yes, it
I think
does.
Scary Movie
And
2 has some funny parts, but after that, it's just a downward spiral.
it was
Partly because
just,
they went to
yeah,
PG-13 too. And if you don't know this,
yeah.
part 5 is also PG-13. So that's pretty much an immediate turnoff for me, especially when it comes to like what's supposed to be edgy comedy. But
Yeah. To me, if I'm gonna watch a comedy, nowadays especially, older comedy could get away with being PG and PG-13 and it being really funny because back then the rating system was a little bit more lenient. You
yeah,
know, you could drop a couple f bombs in a PG-13 movie back then. You know, but nowadays if you say an f bomb one time, like that's it. Like you get the
yeah,
R rating. Then if you say two f bombs, you might get the NC-17, and but if I'm gonna watch a comedy nowadays, it has to be R rated because I mean those are just the smarter comedies. They're the adult comedies.
yeah,
They're a lot smarter. And PG-13 to me is just stuck in this weird world of where it could be family friendly, and at the same time, well, we could grab a few adults, but
mm,
I never really cared. But yeah, Scary Movie really did a good job of just sticking to Scream. And if you're gonna do a spoof, that's what you should do. You should do a spoof of a movie that represents the genre. You know, Airplane did it for, disaster movies and particularly the airport movie. And, cause there were a lot of them that came out during that particular time. And Spaceballs did it because Star Wars was so big, and
yeah,
Scary Movie, the first one, it came out at a time where there had been so much slasher garbage that had happened, and there really wasn't any horror movies that was doing anything else other than just slasher, slasher, slasher,
Hmm.
slasher. And and then you got Scream, which was essentially just a slasher movie that just broke all the horror movie rules. And so
Hmm.
that's basically all Scary Movie did, was just, do that.
Yeah.
But five, leave it alone. They're poking fun of Evil Dead, and I'm it's just not Evil Dead. It's like Paranormal Activity and everything else, and
Oh God,
it's
I
cheap.
was I was
It's
looking I was looking just kind of browsing about the movie on Wikipedia today, and it was saying like there was a list of like 20 things it was spoofing, and I'm just like, oh Lord, like Inception was
it's
on there,
already
stuff from last year. It was just outrageous. I'm like,
yeah, it's
no.
too much. Don't overdo it. There's no reason to overdo it. I that's a problem with a lot of comedy movies nowadays. It bites off more than it can chew, and then
Yeah.
you get stuck of this hell that you can't get out of. But oh, that's a headache. But
Yeah.
going ahead and moving on, and to the next masterpiece that is on this list that I've gotten here. I don't even want to say it. Well, no, I can say it a little bit easier than the last one. But The Room.
Ugh.
Oof. Um, I remember thinking it was like porn for some reason. Like I did, because they played it on Adult Swim. And like there were all these
Really?
weird nude. Yeah, they played it on Adult Swim. They had like a back to back running of it. It was like,
Wow.
that was their night, was that like they played the movie all night. And I thought, oh, this is going to be like an Adult Swim movie. This is going to be funny. And then
Hmm.
I watched it and I was like, oh my Jesus, what did I just do? Like,
That's
I
funny.
think I'm pretty sure you've seen the highlights of it.
Yeah, I know about its reputation. I know that it's considered to be one of the worst movies ever made.
Yeah.
That's a pretty high list there too, because things like Birdemic and Troll are on that list. So
Yeah.
yeah, I've seen snippets of it, tiny snippets, but I've just never even wanted to go near it, to be honest.
It's it is produced, directed, and starring Tommy
Hmm.
Wiseau, or however you say his name.
Yeah.
And therein lies the problem, is a guy who just has too much power. The directing, the acting, the music, like it's so, like the part that really, one of the parts that really made me laugh, which the whole movie made me laugh just because it was so bad. But the part that really got me, and I mean really got me, was where him and his girlfriend start having all these problems, and he's like trying to be emotional, and he's trying to push the scene over the top, and he's like, "You're tearing me apart, Lisa," uh, like it's, and
uh,
his voice, because he's got this weird speech impediment thing going on. He's like, "You're tearing me apart, Lisa." It's, yeah. It was funny, but not in the way that it was supposed to be. And you mentioned the final movie that I had written down, and that is Birdemic, or Birdemic, or however you want to say it. Shock and terror, or shock and awe, or
Shock and
pain us in
terror,
my
Birdemic.
anus, or yeah, pain us in my anus, or whatever you want to call it. That's basically what it is. Oh my God. Um, how about your experience with Birdemic? Because you shared an important piece of information with me a long time ago about it being in theaters. So
Yeah.
I would like to hear I would like to hear from you on that one. So
Um, okay, so I've actually never seen Birdemic. I've watched
Right.
the clips of Birdemic, especially the
That's
action,
enough.
the superior special effects, the Oscar-worthy acting, um, the
God,
Golden
I
Globe
can't
winning
even.
cinematography.
Oh
No,
my
but this
goodness
movie
gracious.
is the definition of bad. In case you don't know, Birdemic Shock and Terror came out in 2008, um, and it was made on a budget of about $10,000. I believe it was, yeah, here's his name, James Nugent, written, directed, and produced by this guy. So he pretty much did everything himself. And as it kind of
I'm
becomes,
surprised. I'm surprised he didn't pull a Tommy Wiseau and just go ahead and just
uh,
star in this abortion.
yeah, and
Oh man.
it's basically supposed to be like what I took it for was like a kind of a homage to the Birds. It's kind of like a callback to that 60s,
Yeah.
50s monster movie type of horror with well, I mean, we were kind of talking about Contagion. It's that kind of thing where you can't control it, and it's that kind of virus where it just spreads, you know. And I haven't seen Birdemic, so I don't know what makes these birds go crazy. But at least in Hitchcock's The Birds, that's how it is. Which, if you guys haven't seen The Birds, that movie is pretty freaking amazing. I mean, it's
Yeah.
great
It's
movie.
phenomenal.
Yeah, I just got the Hitchcock
Yeah.
box set a few months back and finally got around to watching it last week. And
Oh yeah.
oh man, that it's it's been years since I'd
It's
seen
really.
it, so it
Yeah.
was
It's
just
really
so
solid.
nice. Yeah,
Yeah, it's anytime I really need to get away from the crap that's just being put out nowadays, Scary Movie 5. Um when I just want my brain to stop hurting from all the garbage that's coming out, I take it back to a guy like Hitchcock,
yeah,
who was, basically putting the will into motion and, and doing stuff like that. Important stuff for film and everything. But
hmm
yeah, I heard about Birdemic actually um, in the video store that we have here locally. Oh, I shook the table. Sorry about that. Here in the video store that we have locally, uh, they had it. They had it on the new release rack, and there was only like 2 boxes. So most of the time when the movie store here does a new release, and if it's a big new release, they have like sections, like
yeah,
basically ready for this movie to come out. And so basically this movie got, 2 boxes on the wall, and I was like, never heard of this movie before. What is this movie about? And like I picked it up and I looked at it, and there was no description on the box. Like it said Birdemic and there was a picture of a bird. I was like, well, is this some type of, you know, what I thought it was going to be was like an educational video on birds and how they were carrying diseases and stuff. And
yeah.
I kind of forgot about it, and I never saw it. I never saw it after that. I guess because somebody decided to rent it and smash it with a hammer, because that's what should have been done with it. Um, but so I was flipping around YouTube one day and I was looking for funny movie clips, and they had a 20-minute long
Yep,
Birdemic movie clip,
yeah.
and it's just highlights of the movie, and they're so terrible. Like you've seen the highlights.
That's the
Um,
same video I
the
watched that I was talking about.
yeah, yeah. The best part, and the highlights actually happen to be the trailer for the movie. It's a 20-minute long trailer. So that in itself shows you, what they were doing. Um, but I just remember seeing the scene where they go outside and they have clothes hangers. And they're like
Yeah.
swatting at the birds when they're flying over the top of their car, and they can't unlock the door for some reason in their car. And that was enough. Like,
Yeah,
and and then you told me, you were like, "Oh yeah, it got a limited release in theaters,"
it did.
and that was it.
Well, this is the
That sent me
crazy
into
part
cardiac
is
arrest.
it originally came out on DVD back in 2008, and then it went straight to DVD, and it became so popular, it was renting and selling so much that they brought it back to theaters. And then it came out, I know, that's what I'm
Why?
saying. I know. I don't understand either. But this is from what I've read on the
Popular?
history of the movie. This is how it went down. So and then I guess supposedly it got like a full release on DVD, like with Blu-ray and all that stuff in 2009, and that's when I originally saw the movie. And then there's actually a really fun movie podcast run by a couple of comedians. I don't know if you ever watched The League, but Paul Scheer, the guy who plays oh gosh, Andre on The League.
Yeah.
He's one of the hosts of the podcast, and
Yeah.
it's called How Did This Get Made, and they just talk about horrible movies, and they talked about Birdemic, and that's when I first heard about it. And then come, a year or two later, and this is when I was talking to you. It was maybe 6 or 8 months ago when I said this to you. I was at the theater, and going in,
Oh, yeah.
it was like one of those one night events only where Birdemic was back in theaters, and I'm just like, oh my god, is this really happening?
Oh boy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cult movie for sure. People love it just to go watch it and laugh.
Yeah.
That's the only reason to watch it.
It's yeah. I mean, I don't know if you heard that thunder that just hit outside.
Yeah.
Excuse me, but I don't know. I get it. Like I'm with the joke. I am. He basically he made a crappy film. He knew he did. He knew what he did. He knew what he did. He didn't try to make it good. He didn't try. He didn't try to make it any. He made it, and that was it. And then it just become this tidal wave of garbage that people loved for some reason. And I guess every once in a while, you'll get a film like that. You'll get a film where it's just absolute garbage, and everybody will love it. And and I don't. Oh man, when you told me that it was in theaters, like that was it. Like I was almost willing to fly out to California just to catch the limited release, just to see how bad it was really, because I don't know. I don't even know what to think about it. And there's a sequel. There's going to be a sequel.
Oh yeah, it's coming out. It says I think it said it's coming out later this year sometime, but God knows if that's going to happen or when it's going to happen. So
the tagline, if I read correctly, which it's been a little bit since I read the tagline for it last. The tagline was you wanted it, so you're getting it. It's like, no, I did not want it, and I'm not getting it. That's crazy for you to even assume something like that, Mr. Whatever your name is, Nigel, whatever.
Nugan or something like that. I don't know. He's some Asian guy, so.
Wouldn't it be crazy if somebody actually gave him a big budget to remake Birdemic?
It would be interesting. I would say that it would be interesting, because maybe you could actually hire actors that good, but I mean, no actor's as good. The actor's only as good as his director is. Type of thing. So.
Well, another real problem with the movie is that the first 45 minutes, from what I read, nothing happens. Like there's nothing going on. The movie's an hour and 30 minutes long, and if you think about that, 45 minutes of the movie, nothing happens. Like it's nothing gets accomplished. There's no starting line for anything. It just kind of everything just happens. And I think that number one, should have been, that was another problem with it, but I think we need to stop talking about this now.
Birdemic, it just gives you a headache because there's nothing you can say it's just bad, and once you see, if you just type in Birdemic into YouTube or Google or whatever, I'm sure you could find it, but it is just so horrendous, and like we said, I just don't understand how it's gained popularity, but stranger things have happened.
Even the theme song, like it's still in my brain because it was playing the whole time that the trailer was playing.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my god. But
Oh gosh.
moving on,
Yeah.
hopefully to bigger and better things.
Yeah, really. It's just it kind of gives me a headache talking about that movie. um, okay, so let's see. I got a few more here. We'll just go through and Wild Wild West. I know that's one of the biggest disappointments ever.
Oh
And I
man.
think the giant mechanical spider pretty much explains it right there. 1800s giant
Yeah.
mechanical spider. So,
You
what are
watched
your thoughts on Wild Wild West?
the Kevin Smith video of him talking about Superman.
Yep, and they wanted to
Yeah.
use the giant spider in that.
And okay, for those of you who don't know, after Christopher Reeve was done making Superman, they decided to go ahead and revamp Superman again, and they were going to give it a bigger budget, and they wanted it to be closer to the comic books. So they found Kevin Smith, who naturally knows a good bit about comic books, and they had him write the story, and they was going to let him direct as well. So he, but they wanted him to co-direct. I think it was with the guy
No, no,
who
no.
directed
It's
the Wild
he
Wild.
was
No.
he was writing, and then it was for Tim Burton to direct. And this is before
Yeah,
he
that's
kicked.
it.
As soon as Tim Burton came in, he kicked Kevin Smith out. So he really never even
Yeah,
got to write anything. But this is like what they wanted him to go for. So, but go ahead and continue.
yeah. Well, he actually did write a little bit, and the guy who they were going with for the Wild Wild West, who was I can't remember the relationship that they had. It was either
John
you
Peters. He
know
was the producer of
yeah,
both
John
movies.
Peters. Yeah, that's it. He
Hmm.
come in and he was like, this is what we need. We need a giant mechanical spider, and we need Brainiac to be punching out polar bears for some reason. And I
Yeah.
was like, hi, and he made Wild Wild West, and that was enough.
Yeah, and
I'm
he
getting
came
a
into
little bit,
that, but
I'm getting a kind of bad feedback a little bit there. I don't know
no,
if
that's
that's on me
fine.
or on you.
Probably me. I don't know. If you
It's
guys
better
can't
now.
tell, we're still trying to work out the technical kinks here, so
Yeah.
just bear with us. I promise the quality is gonna improve very soon.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about. Let's see here. How about Spawn? What do you think about Spawn? That's a fun
Okay,
one.
okay. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna say it right now. It's it's not that bad. Okay, it's not that bad. It was one of the first movies to use CGI. So and it doesn't hold up now. It doesn't.
No,
And
no.
no, it does not hold up at all. It looks extremely bad. But to be honest with you, for the 90s, it was one of those movies that should stay in the 90s, and it needs to be buried in the 90s. Because it it's a tough cookie. It's one of those things where it was a comic book movie, so there, and Spawn had actually just came into existence when they decided to give him a movie, and I don't understand why that was. um I actually own Spawn #1, and you know and I was a fan of it when I was a kid, so I thought, well, I'll go watch it. And to me, it wasn't bad, but you can tell that it did not age well. It does not
No.
hold up. But it's one of those movies. It's like I said, it was good for the 90s because it showed
Yeah.
you that, hey, we have CGI, and hey, we can do some cool stuff, because I thought the concept was really cool and some of the stuff that they did. And then going back and watching it, ooh,
Yeah.
it's one of those.
Okay. So what about Mortal Kombat? Did you ever enjoy Mortal Kombat as a kid? The movie, the first
Which
one?
Mortal Kombat?
The
The
first
first,
one.
I love the first one. I
You
love the
still love
first
it?
one. Yeah, I still
I
do.
think
It's
it's
not
fun.
really that bad.
No.
Yeah. I mean, it,
Well,
it was a
compared to the
surprise.
doldrums of most video game movies, it's not bad at all.
Yeah.
It's actually one of the better ones, but it's still not,
It was one
you
that
know.
it was still one that was really surprising. Is what
Hmm.
it was, because the acting really wasn't bad. The directing really wasn't bad, you know. And it kind of it goes back to that 90s CGI thing, you know, where CGI is just now first coming along.
Hmm.
So you get that really crazy animated reptile and
Well,
some of
yeah,
the other stuff. But
that's like the second Mortal Kombat is really a bad culprit of that. I mean, the CG in that movie is
that's
is bad as Spawn, if not worse. I mean, I went back and watched it, and I was just like, holy crap, how did I like this movie at all? You know, because I love those first two movies when I was a kid. But on that note, I
I
also
didn't
want to ask
even
you. Go ahead.
I didn't even like the second one when I was a kid because I knew it was just bad.
Yeah.
I just it it was another one of those runtime issues and CGI issues and uh,
Hmm.
like number one to me wasn't really all that bad. It was actually pretty good. Number two, oh my god, like they just had a crap storm of terrible. But sorry, continue with what
Oh
you
no,
were.
no, I was just oh Lord, I forgot what I was gonna ask you now. I got caught up in what you're saying. So we'll just move on. Mortal Kombat. What about G.I. Joe? What did you think of the first G.I. Joe?
Sucked.
Sucked. I, th-
Yeah, sucked. I don't think
I
you can
think
put the
there's stuff
Wayne's
to
brothers
like.
in an action movie.
Yeah, I think there's stuff to like in that movie, but I have to agree it's not really that great.
It looked like 90s CGI, like it did.
Yeah, it kind of did. And that's sad because ILM
And
did the CGI for that too, which is supposed to be the best
yeah,
people at doing visual effects in the world. And
yeah, you hit a low point there. Um,
hmm
I haven't seen the new one, but I'm probably gonna go catch it. It might be
yeah,
pretty decent. What
yeah,
I heard, it was pretty good.
I actually got to see it. I actually got to go to a test screening of it about it was over a year ago now. It was the beginning of April, so right around this time last year, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was way better than the second one. I thought it was a good
Yeah.
choice to cast The Rock in the leading role and to kind
Oh
of
yeah.
push Channing Tatum to the side. But I also thought those two guys in that movie, they have a really good chemistry with each other, and they have some
Mm.
really great scenes together. But then again, I was also disappointed by the ending of that movie, so I would maybe give it like a 5 or 6 out of 10. But then again, it's been a
Yeah.
year since I've seen it, and a lot of the visual effects weren't
Well,
done. The movie wasn't completely
yeah.
finished. There was some temporary sound, things like that. So I definitely want to go see it
Right.
again. But it's better than the first. I'll say that. Definitely.
Um, that movie had a lot of problems, you know,
Hmm.
and to see them from what I heard, you know, a lot of the problems got corrected,
Yeah.
and you know, it was due for a release around last summer, and then
Hmm.
it's just now getting around to being released now,
Yep.
and if they really took the time to go back and fix the problems and you know make the movie better, and plus
Hmm.
you know they had to completely redo the whole movie because they killed off, I think they killed off Channing Tatum in the first 20 minutes of it or
Yep.
something.
That's what
So
happens.
yeah,
And then, I mean, the
yeah,
trailer gives it away. So if you've seen the trailer, it's obvious that it happens in the movie. But I'm not sure if that's actually what they changed. The main thing what they did was they did the 3D conversion when they delayed that movie for
yeah,
9 months. They wanted to do a 3D conversion, but there was also rumors that there was reshoots and stuff. So the only way really to tell is to go see it. And then I
yeah,
mean, but from what I hear, a lot of the stuff's the same.
right.
So I don't
Well, as
know.
long as they worked out their technical difficulties.
Yeah.
What's next in the firing order here?
Oh man. Trying to find something interesting. Ooh. I know this is a lot of comic book stuff, but just horrible. Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance. Oh, oh.
I didn't even go see it.
You
I didn't
didn't see
like the
it, dude. I
first
made the
one.
mistake of, I mean, because I don't know about you, I love the Crank movies. I love Neville Dean and Taylor's style. It's so in your face, and they're just so, they're just balls out kind of directors, you know. And I really loved the
Yeah.
first Crank for what it was. It was an action movie. It knew what it wanted to be. Just like I said, kind of balls to the wall mentality with no
I liked Crank.
limits.
Yeah.
Yeah. The second one, not as good. I still enjoyed it though
Eh,
because there's still
yeah.
some
It
funny and
was.
interesting stuff going on there. And it's even crazier than the first. Who would have thought?
Oh yeah.
But Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance, man, I do not know what happened with that movie because it had all the makings of a good movie. I mean, the action scenes were really great. The action scenes were really, really great. But the problem is there was like 3 action scenes in the whole hour and 40-minute movie, and so it's really just Nicolas Cage being Nicolas Cage most of the time. Yeah, so
That's not
it was
good at
it was the
all.
Cage effect, dude. And I don't know. I think they wrote the story, and the script too. They did revisions on it, rewrites before they started filming. And I don't know if those guys are the type of directors who should be writing scripts that are other
Writing.
than Crank, you know, because
Yeah.
the material in Crank really meshes with their sensibilities, and I guess Ghost Rider does too. But um, one thing I will say, it is better than the first in my opinion because I love the design of the actual Ghost Rider character in this one. I
Yeah.
don't know if you've seen pictures or anything, but his skull is actually charred. The jacket, it's not perfect. It's bubbled. It looks like it's been burning. And in the first one, there
Yeah.
was none of that. Everything was pristine, and the skull was white. And it felt like a watered down version of Ghost Rider. Um, so I
I
actually thought that one was good, to a certain extent.
I I've never really been big on Nicolas Cage, and I never was a big fan of Ghost Rider. Like I thought the concept for him was really cool, but I don't know, like you could put you could tell me that, Nick Cage is going to be in this glorious movie and it's going to be the film to beat all films, and I still wouldn't watch it just because it's Nick Cage. Like I
Yeah.
I just never I think he's crazy. Well, I know he's crazy. He's really crazy. He has to
Yeah.
be. He has to
Hmm.
be insane. Like he's just so there's no way to describe him. It's so
Mm.
weird. Um
Yeah.
I think one of the first movies I ever actually saw him in was one with Samuel L. Jackson. It was a comedy. I can't remember the name of it though. He was like a he was like
Can't
a
think.
robber or something, and
Hmm.
it actually wasn't bad. Like, but that's saying a
Hmm.
lot, you know. Everybody fell into the National Treasure hype. I don't like that movie. I don't like the first one. I didn't like the second one. The problem I had with National Treasure was the fact that it just went on and on and
Hmm.
on and just on and on, and it's like, oh, we got another clue. Well, this one leads us to the last clue, but guess what? There's another clue that you got to find. It's like,
Yeah.
and then when I found out they were doing a sequel, I was like, oh, another 2.5 hours of finding clues.
No
I
thanks.
don't know.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It kind of wears on you. I understand that. I think those movies are okay. I get a kick out of it. It's a stupid adventure movie once in a while. I don't know. Just like when I feel like doing something else and having a movie on the background, that's a good, like National Treasure is a good one for that. Um,
I'm doing the laundry. I'll throw National
yeah,
Treasure
exactly.
on.
That's what I do, man. That's what I do.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
so I'm gonna talk about one of your favorite movies ever right now. The 1998 version of Godzilla.
You offend me, sir. You offend me heavily.
Oh, I know how you feel about this movie. So I want to hear your thoughts on 1998's Godzilla.
um. Okay. This movie hurts. it's like it's like it's like being constipated, and you just can't get it out. Oh, oh man, I'm okay. Here was the problem. You know, you grow up, and for me, when I was a little kid, AMC Monster Movie Saturday Night was where it was at, and you got like Frankenstein, Wolfman, and Dracula, and they'd have all those movies, and then they would have, then they would have, then they would have just the big monster movies, and then TNT, uh, had a monster movies Friday night or something, and they would show like really cheesy, corny monster movies, and that's really where I began to fall in love with Godzilla. You know, it
Mhm.
just because when you're a little kid, when I was a little kid, it was about dinosaurs and dragons and monsters, and Godzilla to me was really big because, think about his name, Godzilla. Like, come on, he
Yeah.
is the king of all monsters.
Yep.
And it's you get this fire breathing behemoth that just levels a city of people, and he fights other really cool monsters, and it doesn't matter how cheesy or how terrible the special effects are. For that time period, it's really good. And it's a Godzilla movie. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember seeing the trailer in the movie theater when I was a little kid. I actually remember seeing the movie trailer at Lost in Space.
Ooh,
Yeah.
nice.
And I was sitting there and I was thinking, like, I could hear, and this is what they did in the first trailer that really tricked me, was they had like they did the thing where like you could hear the footsteps and everything, and then you hear that roar, and then you just like the trailer was just the teaser was just an eye, and it was like Godzilla's eye, and that was all you got, and
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like,
yeah. I
oh
remember
my
that. I
god,
remember
Godzilla,
that. Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, they're gonna, oh, he's coming to theaters, first time in America, hooray.
Yeah.
And then you go and see it, and it's just, why? Like, how do you mess up a Godzilla movie? It's
Yeah.
the acting, the directing, the cinematography, the
Yeah.
monster. The most important aspect is the monster. They didn't have to
Yeah.
change the monster. There was nothing to change.
Yeah.
Keep Godzilla Godzilla.
Exactly.
He
The
doesn't need
whole
to look
reason
like a
people are going to see
chameleon.
the movie is to see the monster they know and love. So why change the design on them? And I
Yeah.
think like people like you got that just really just threw them out for the movie right away. You don't even want to watch it anymore.
Yeah.
But
It's like he didn't even breathe fire.
yeah, seriously,
Like,
I didn't even think about that until now. I never realized that. But then again, I try not to think about this movie too much. But I think the big mistake,
yeah.
the defining thing that made this movie bad was choosing Roland Emmerich to direct it. Who, if you guys don't know who Roland Emmerich is, he's directed such cinematic gems as Independence Day,
Uh,
Stargate. He directed. He also did The Day
yeah, I
After
like Stargate.
Tomorrow. I know,
I don't
people love
like that
Stargate,
one.
but he's also did The Day After
Yeah.
Tomorrow and I think it was 2012, and then he also has another one coming out this year, which is a White
Oh
House
boy.
invasion movie. But um, I think the thing here
Didn't we
is
already have that?
no, well, there's two of them. There's Olympus Has Fallen, and then White House Down, which is the Roland Emmerich one, and that one's starring Channing
I'll
Tatum.
I'll I'll take
Yeah,
I'll take Olympus Has Fallen. It already looks like the better movie,
yeah,
which I kind of
um,
like Gerard Butler, so
yeah,
that's just
yeah.
me.
He's when he's not doing romantic comedies, yeah, I like Gerard Butler.
I didn't like the first time I heard of him was 300, and then after
Hmm.
that he did like a kids movie, and then he did like a romance movie, then he did Rock and Rolla, and like after P.S. I Love You, I was like, how do you be this big action star for 300 and kick so much ass, and then then you're doing P.S. I Love You, and
And
then it's
sucking
like,
so much
well,
ass.
yeah, and it's like, oh well, now I'm gonna go to back to action. I'm gonna do Rock and Rolla, which is very underrated in my opinion. I like Rock and Rolla. I thought it was a good film. Um, but and then then he did some movie with Katherine Heigl, and
Oh yeah, The
I
Ugly
just
Truth.
what it and then he did Law Abiding Citizen. Now that's the one
Hmm.
where a lot of people draw a line on. Either you like the
Yeah,
movie or you hate it. But I really enjoyed it. I thought him and Jamie Foxx really meshed well together. Um, Gerard Butler really gave off this feel of you know this man who's lost everything, and now he's giving it back to the system.
yeah,
But kind
yeah.
of ran off on a real long rabbit trail right there
No,
from
that's fine.
Godzilla
That's fine. That's
yeah.
like you said at the beginning. That's what we do best. But I think that can wrap us up for now. There's always we can also have another installment of horrible movies when another bad we know for sure bad movie is going to come out. But hey, you
Oh
never know.
yeah.
Scary movie might actually be a surprise. I'm always trying to be a little optimistic, but that doesn't mean I'm going to see it in theaters. I'm going to wait till home video or
Yeah,
maybe
you're stretching a
download it
long line there, my
On
friend.
YouTube for free when that happens.
Yeah.
But I think we can go ahead and close this episode out, huh, Tommy?
Yeah, that works for me.
All
And
right.
as always, subscribe. It will be right here, or over there, or below, or one place
Maybe over
somewhere.
here.
Maybe. Who knows? I might put it right here in front of my face.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Then they'll
Maybe
have
I'll
to
put it
click
over
on it.
here. Exactly.
Yeah. Also, if you guys don't know, we also have an email where you can contact us with questions, concerns, anything you want to ask us about, and you can do that at movienerdsmailbox@gmail.com. So we're looking forward to hearing stuff from you guys. If you have anything you want to say, don't hesitate. So with that, I am Taylor Salen.
And I'm Tommy Bolden.
All right, man. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.